First and foremost, I want to say good afternoon and thank you all for being here. My name is Anthony Campbell. I'm the Chief of Police. Today, this press conference was called to give you an update on the police officer-involved shooting that occurred on January 8th. Before I go to my remarks, I would like to introduce you to the Mayor of the City of New Haven, Toni and Harp.
Thank you very much, Chief. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm grateful to Chief Campbell for convening this press conference today. The Chief and I have spoken about this week's shooting incident several times since it happened. I echo the concern that he and his command staff have expressed about the serious nature of what transpired. First, I would underscore, as the incident itself underscores, the often dangerous nature of police work. The risks and responsibilities assumed by police officers each and every shift include the possibility that the use of force may become necessary. I know very well the men and women of the New Haven Police Department take these risks and responsibilities to heart. I know very well when the use of force does become necessary, it is not taken lightly. As has and will be explained, every case of an officer-involved shooting is automatically investigated by an outside agency, in this case, the Connecticut State Police, to ensure a complete and objective review and to avoid the appearance of a conflict. That state police investigation of this incident is ongoing. Today, I know Chief Campbell would like to explain how what happened fits into his department's overall crime prevention and law enforcement strategies in New Haven. I might mention these strategies delivered for the people of New Haven in 2018, another year of lower crime statistics, to underscore their effectiveness. With that, I'll yield to Chief Campbell, again with thanks to him and everyone in the New Haven Police Department for the exemplary commitment to public safety in our city. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Much appreciated. I want to thank you for being here as we share information with you regarding the officer-involved shooting which took place on Tuesday, January 8th, 2019 in the Hills South neighborhood of New Haven. At approximately 5:44 p.m., the suspect, who was identified as Marcus Rivera, date of birth 5/11/96, of 869 Quinnipiac Avenue, New Haven, engaged officers in a foot pursuit. The suspect was eventually apprehended but managed to fight free and continue to flee from officers. An exchange of gunfire took place as the suspect continued in his attempt to elude officers. Ultimately, in the area of First Avenue and Greenwich Street, officers were able to take him into custody without further incident. It was discovered that Rivera had sustained a gunshot wound to the pelvis area. Rivera was immediately given first aid by officers and then transported to Yale New Haven Hospital, where he was treated for his gunshot wound. Rivera underwent surgery and was listed in critical but stable condition. He has since undergone another surgery and is now listed in stable condition. The scene of the incident, which spanned a large area, was secured, and I immediately contacted the state's attorney for New Haven, Patrick Griffin, as is the protocol whenever an officer is involved in the deadly use of force. At approximately 6:30 p.m., Connecticut State Police Western District Major Crime Detectives were requested by the New Haven State's Attorney's Office to assume the investigation. They responded and took over the investigation. The department has cooperated and will continue to cooperate with them for the duration of this investigation. Today, I want to officially share with you the identity of the officer who exchanged gunfire with Mr. Rivera. The officer is Detective Francisco Sanchez. Detective Sanchez is a 7-year veteran of the New Haven Police Department and is currently assigned to the Criminal Intelligence Unit. Detective Sanchez was working in concert with a group of officers who were also part of the pursuit of suspect Rivera. Those additional officers will not be named today. Detective Sanchez and all of the officers who were present during the shooting were transported to Yale New Haven Hospital for evaluation, which is protocol whenever officers are involved in the use of deadly force. All of the officers involved in this incident have been placed on administrative duty per department protocols. In addition, the department is working with the Employee Assistance Program to provide services to the officers as well as their families to assist them as they process the trauma that accommodates being involved in the use of deadly force. Internal Affairs was immediately assigned to investigate the incident per my orders and in compliance with department protocol. Internal Affairs will be conducting a parallel investigation into the incident, largely dependent on information provided by the investigation, which is being conducted by Connecticut State Police. An officer-involved shooting is one of the greatest fears that any law enforcement official faces as part of being in this profession. This incident has profoundly affected the officers involved, the department, and the entire community. I'm thankful that the officers involved were not physically injured and that the suspect survived his injuries. The crime scene was extensive, impacting many homes and businesses in the area. The New Haven Police Department is extremely grateful for the understanding of the residents and others in the area who patiently allowed the Connecticut State Police to conduct their investigation so that this incident could be properly and thoroughly documented. Not only did the community exhibit great patience during this investigation, but many have reached out and offered their support to the officers involved and to the department. This is a testimony to the strength of the relationships that this department has with its community. I especially want to thank Alder David Reyes and Alder Ron Hurt, who stood with Chief Johnson as I addressed the media regarding the incident that evening. I also want to take a moment to thank the clergy, particularly Pastor Lewis, as well as Pastor Steve Cousin, who've reached out and have been offering support both to the department the day of the incident as well as throughout. We're very thankful. This investigation is ongoing, and it will take time for the state police to thoroughly review and evaluate the facts they discover. We will continue to work with them to ensure that every detail of this incident is captured, and we will keep you posted with any information that will not compromise the investigation. I'm very thankful that all of the officers who responded to the scene, including our partners from Yale University Police Department, worked in the most exemplary fashion to secure the crime scene and to support the officers and the community members who were impacted. This was a very dangerous situation, and the outcome was favorable as possible. Given the specific set of circumstances, we welcome and encourage the continuing support of our community, requesting specifically that you keep the officers involved, as well as their families and colleagues, in your thoughts and your prayers. In closing, let me say that I wish that this incident had never occurred. Nonetheless, I am proud of the men and women of this department who daily place their lives in the line of danger to ensure that everyone who resides in or visits this community can live, work, and play in safety and in peace. I also want to point out that, as Mayor Harp said earlier, what the Criminal Intelligence Unit, along with the Shooting Task Force who were out there looking for this suspect, it is part of our crime strategy to reduce violence in our city. And although this ultimately led to an officer-involved shooting, these officers were out there doing exactly what we ask of them on a daily basis, to go out, to get guns off the street, to get those who would commit crimes and harm members of our community off the street. And that's exactly what they did. This is how we have been able to effectively reduce the numbers of major incidents which involve gun violence, reduce the number of homicides, reduce the number of persons shot in our city, reduce robberies. It is the bravery and the tenacity of the men and women of this entire department, but especially those who work behind the scenes like the Criminal Intelligence Unit, the Shooting Task Force, who go out and they get the well-known offenders that we're targeting because of what we know they have done. So I think this was an absolutely fantastic job. We will continue to work with the state police and provide transparency throughout so that we could bring this to a conclusion as quickly as possible.
Chief, I have a couple questions. I was there the night this happened, and I was struck by the level of cooperation between the community and the officers who were responding. Can you talk about what you attribute that cooperation to?
I attribute that cooperation to years of focusing on developing outreach to the community, involving the clergy. We meet here on a regular basis. Next Tuesday we'll have another clergy meeting, but also making sure that every possible way that we can have contact, positive contact with the community, that's what we're doing. Whether it is issuing the officers their own cell phones so that they could call their officer directly, because people don't want to call 911. They don't want to call a non-emergency number. They want to call their police officer. We've also initiated surveys to find out how people feel about us. And when the areas that we see that we're deficient, then we take the necessary steps to say, how can we be more transparent? And more importantly, how can we be more approachable? And I think that we have implemented all of the feedback and all of the ideas that have come from the community, as well as initiated outreach to the community, and now you're seeing a synergy of that. You see it in these times of crisis. This type of incident, had it happened somewhere else where you don't have that community-police relationship, it could blow up into something. But as you've seen, there hasn't been any pushback because we have that relationship. So it's all of us working collaboratively, and that's the result you get.
Chief, what was the suspect wanted for?
We were looking for the suspect for a number of things. There was a state police warrant that was on file for him with regard to reckless endangerment regarding a pursuit. There were some other things that we were also looking for him that I can't discuss, which could possibly compromise. Not a convicted felon. No.
Got it. And was he charged since?
He has been charged with a number of issues, including
He has a warrant for the pistol.
carry a pistol without a permit. Yep.
Exchange of gunfire, were there shell casings or shot spot or anything, pick that up to document that?
Can't discuss that as part of the investigation. The state police were made aware that we do have the shot spotter system.
Yes.
Even if it did not react initially, there are forensic studies that they can do.
Yes.
So we've given them all of the information as to what resources we have, and we're sure they're going to utilize all of that.
Chief, did the officer who fired his gun, there was a report that he went and rendered aid to the suspect. Can you speak to that part of the story?
I cannot say whether it was that officer or not. I do know that from reports that I heard that first aid was rendered by officers on the scene. I can't say which officer it was. One of the things that I am particularly proud of is that amidst this chaos, officers had the wherewithal to provide first aid to an individual who moments before had tried to take their lives. That is a testimony to the morality and to the humanity which all officers in New Haven have in abundance. And I think it goes to the relationship that we have built with the community. It's not simply about doing our job, it's about making sure that lives, all lives, are saved.
You mentioned all of them involved have been placed in the administrative duty. You're not
Correct.
identifying the rest of them. How many total were involved in this pursuit?
I will not say the total number, as that could compromise the investigation. Plus, we also want to show respect for our partners through the state police who are still gathering reports, have to do interviews, et cetera. But I could tell you it was a significant number. One great thing is that the Criminal Intelligence Unit, as well as the Shooting Task Force, they do not work in isolation. They work as a group to support one another. And I really believe that it is that cohesion that allowed this situation to resolve as quickly as it did without escalating any further, and kept both the officers and the community as safe as possible.
Chief, how many rounds were exchanged during the gunfire, and can you provide a mugshot of the suspect?
I cannot say how many rounds were exchanged. That is part of the investigation. State police will be the ones who will determine based on shell casings, shot spotter technology, eyewitness accounts exactly officer interviews, exactly how many rounds were exchanged. And we are not at the place where we want to release a photo of the individual, but as we continue to get updates, because there are some other things that are going on, we will keep you posted.
Was any of the officers wearing body cameras, and is that been documented as evidence from this investigation?
So, being that they are the criminal intelligence unit, they do not wear body cameras. Body cameras are typically worn by our patrol officers. But we do believe that state police is working diligently. That area has a number of homes, businesses, and as is normal protocol, I'm sure state police is canvassing and has probably obtained video footage if there is video footage.
So if intel was out there, you had an ongoing investigation. Has that investigation been compromised as a result of this?
I wouldn't say that that investigation has been compromised. I would say that we are moving forward with that investigation. And that, truth be told, this may actually help fortify the investigation that was going on.
Well, what was the investigation?
I can't say because it's ongoing, and to say could compromise the investigation. Not the shooting investigation, but the investigation we are looking for the individual. Yeah. Yes.
Chief, can
All
you
right.
confirm whether or not shots were fired by the suspect at police, without saying the number of shots exchanged, but were shots fired by the suspect?
I can't say that simply because the state police is handling this part of the investigation. They will relay that information to us. That will help us along the lines of our internal affairs investigation, and once that report is complete, we will make sure that we give you all of that information.
When you say exchange, that would imply back and forth.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
I'm giving you a summation of the information that the state police gave us, and that is the word that they use in their press release on the 8th in the evening. So I'm just quoting what they said as this is their investigation. I want to thank you all for being here. As we continue to get updates, we will keep you posted in the future. And as I said before, please keep Officer Sanchez and all of the officers involved and the community members in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Can you just spell this, make sure you guys name, you said Francisco, right?
Francisco, yes.
F-R.
Ancisco. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bro.